It takes 10 seconds, the 100-meter dash. What could possibly happen in that amount of time for a manga to be written about it? 100 meters is a new anime film adapted from the manga of the same name, also known as Hyakemu or 100M. This story follows Togashi and Kimoya, two kids that bond over running. Rivalries begin, identities change, and desires waver. How does this friendship turned rivalry result in both of their ideologies changing, where running becomes more than just a sport? Would you rather choose to be born with natural talent, a body so perfectly built for the sport you enjoy, or would you rather have to work towards your goals, always pushing yourself to adapt and improve? Growing with each day, talent sounds like the easier route, but it holds a dark secret that everyone overlooks. Togashi was born with natural talent. It is easy to see that speed comes naturally to him. From his form to his pace, it's no wonder that when he runs, he shows no sign of struggle. You can say he never discovered running as a sport, but was born into it. When he is seen talking to his friends about the race he just won, they say he's the fastest, that he can be boring to run against them cause he keeps winning, and that he could beat the world record. These words and ideas are constantly filling his head, making him slowly believe it. It is not until he interviews Takeru Nigami where he hammers the idea that if you want to be the best, you need to commit to that distance for life, never giving up and devoting to it. This is the part where purpose starts to fade. When you constantly win, you become numb to it. It becomes just another win. You continue until you can't remember why you do it anymore. You lose your drive, your identity, your purpose for running. Takeru is basically saying that you must make this your life, which is already seen by Togashi when he stops hanging out with his friends to train Komiya. Komiya is a new student that Togashi stumbled into before, but they are complete opposites. He has no running talent at all and struggles to breathe and keep up. He explains to Togashi that when he runs, it hurts more than reality, distracting him from it. It hits Togashi that Komiya has a reason to keep running and getting better, but he offers that advice that winning the 100-meter race will solve all your problems. This can somewhat be seen as a privileged view given that Togashi never struggled to win. Nonetheless, Komiya takes this advice and trains for it harder than ever. He eventually wins his race and wants to race Togashi. The results are as expected, but what isn't predicted is that Komiya never went back to school. Togashi went from prodigy to mentor, watching as Komiya trained harder every day for a sport that he never needed to try for. His identity starts to fracture. How does Komiya build this through effort, and why can't Togashi do the same? This is another loss of meaning and is even more exemplified in the future. Years pass and Togashi still competes in running, but not for the same reason as before. Before he won every race, but now he is exposed to so many more competitors that winning is now at risk. This builds on him as more pressure, more expectation, and more inadequacy is added. His entire self was built on performance, and every imperfection feels like he is removing that part of him. Winning now feels like an obligation rather than the joy it used to bring him. He is no longer himself. He is no longer the person that people believed he was. He lost his identity by not having one. This is the downfall of natural talent. You win at everything but lose yourself in the process. And where you no longer recognize yourself on the track, what happens when someone else does? Komiya has a purpose. The pain he feels from running distracts him from reality, something he continues to do. When he arrives to school, he loses and is mentored by Togashi. He builds him up to win his race and succeeds. It slowly goes downhill from here when Komiya loses to Togashi in a one-on-one. Komiya loses and moves on to get better, but Togashi is now being pursued by someone who can overtake him. Someone with so much more determination to win. Someone who refuses to give up. A rivalry is born, not from hostility, but rather from recognition. They both see each other as stepping stones to better themselves. Togashi needs to be wary of Komiya catching up, and Komiya has Togashi as a goal to eventually beat. His dominance is now challenged. He is not only fighting against time, but someone who will force him to adapt. Adapt not only physically, but in another way. Time passes on with Komiya still having a presence in Togashi's mind. After slowly losing interest in running, he finds that spark once again. The spark of competition and purpose. Even though Komiya is not present in his life anymore, the memory of their rivalry still lingers on. Komiya continues to improve with Togashi being completely unaware of it, but deep down inside, he knows that someone is there right beside him, chasing him or ahead of him. With this uncertainty, they are both beyond each other's reach, only coming to find their true potential years later. The reunion race, as I will call it, is the time Togashi and Komiya meet after years apart, improving on their own, finding more purpose and chasing their identity. This race highlights something deeper. Togashi and Komiya both started by running. They started with the same sport, but with different ideologies, their paths branched off into different meanings. Where could the best place be to see these differences? Right on the track. This race is not something that drives them to see each other as an opponent, but rather to observe their changes over the years and if they improve. Years of different choices, years of different sacrifices has culminated into this race with only one winner. Togashi notices that Komiya has bested him, and Komiya notices that Togashi's running style has changed. When your rival is no longer your greatest challenge, what remains? A 100-meter sprint is supposed to end in seconds, but the anime drags it out to show us the emotional intensity of the entire setup. This is an entire one-shot rotoscope using real people as reference when animating. It is a build-up that is only intensified by the hard rainfall, mumbled words, and grey color tone of the entire scene. As rain floods the track, emotions fill the races. Regret, fear, desire, identity all clash. All of these emotions amount to a quick finish, unannounced until the very end. Togashi puts his all into this, with Komiya running with a straight face, fully aware that he will win. The race ends quickly with a sense of dread. To Togashi, reflection on this replaces experience, and the possibility of winning becomes a memory. And for Komiya, he does the unexpected. Once the race is done, he makes a comment to Togashi and abruptly leaves. No farewell, no closure, just absence. A once strong rivalry slowly comes to an end. 10 years later, Togashi still runs, but not for himself anymore. He runs because he has to survive in this economy. He can't do things the way he wanted to, nor can he run for himself. He has truly lost himself and his purpose. Internally, he is fighting battles until he breaks down. Looking back at everything he did, why did he end up like this? With this breakdown, he realizes what he needs to do and who he will do it for. What is victory? Is it when you win, or when you realize you accomplished your goal? Togashi wanted to find himself, Komiya wanted to break records, Kaido wanted to escape reality. Victory has been stripped of its simplicity and has been rebranded to fit an individual's purpose. It answers every character's question on why they run. It flashes back to when Togashi and Komiya were kids, reliving the time where the only thing that mattered was running. In the end, every stride matters, every breath counts, and as the race concludes, both purposes realign. We are never shown the winner. It is up to the viewer to decide if they won, but looking at their expressions, they both finally won in life. It was never about who crossed the finish line first, it was always about identity. In mere seconds, two boys found hope, lost identity, and as men they achieved their desires. 100 meters teaches us to find purpose in our lives as individuals. Never become lazy due to talent, and never lose yourself in the pursuit of victory. Work hard towards your goals so that when it becomes a talent, you can continue to develop it. Not all movement is forward, but choosing to run still matters.